Hi, this is Jessica, your theme park casual, and today I'd like to discuss some possible modifications to Stardust Racers following the death of Kevin Rodriguez Zavala. I'm going to maintain my position that this is not the ride's fault, but there again, I am not an expert. There are plenty of experts out there who are diligently working to do what they need to do to ensure this ride's safety, as well as preserve the optics for the general public. And I feel like this is what any modification is going to be about, is the optics. Universal is going to have to do something to make it look like they did something to prevent any further deaths, injuries, whatnot. So this is just a discussion of some of the things that they may do or not do in regards to how they would make it seem like this ride is safer. Now, one thing that I see brought up a lot is over-the-shoulder restraints. And as somebody who frequents Reddit, I see a lot of people saying, oh, I won't ride a roller coaster with only a lap bar. My first roller coaster was Scorpion at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This ride had one inversion, and it was not a regular clothoid loop. It was a more circular loop. So therefore, it had higher Gs. It had a really super intense helix, for at least super intense for a 1980s coaster towards the end. This ride only had a lap bar. I did witness somebody, and this was many, many years ago. I believe I was a teenager at the time, who got on this ride who was missing both legs. He did not fall out. This was well before the days of cell phones. I have no video. But there was the disabled entrance. They were supposed to go up the exit of the ride. They pulled the train a little further up towards the lift hill, and he got on the front row. I remember hearing about an incident where a smaller child was kind of slipping around the seat, and as a result, they did increase the height requirement from 42 inches to 48 inches. But this ride was never unsafe. And those that knew didn't treat it that way. Now, this was, as I said, a 1980s coaster. Its highest point was just over 60 feet. It went just over 40 miles an hour. One inversion. I don't know the G-forces off the top of my head, but I believe they were upper threes. Stardust Racers, I mean, it does have a different restraint. Don't get me wrong. It's got the pull over your shoulders, but still a lap bar. Your torso is still free to move. It maxes out at 4.6 Gs. And, yeah, so maybe it might be a little intense for a lap bar, but these have been tried and tested. And over-the-shoulder restraints may not be any safer. Some of you may notice I have 5 earrings. I have an industrial bar on this side, and I also have 5 on this ear. Last year on Montu, my industrial bar literally broke in half. It did cause a small cut on my ear. Now, I do wear a plastic retainer bar most of the time in the parks now. This way, it's a little more flexible, so if my head bangs against the restraint, it hopefully won't break in half. But that's a risk you take with these coasters, and most people, I know I have an above average number of ear piercings, but a lot of people wear earrings to the parks. And with the head banging, you're also going to bring on headaches, potential whiplash problems, and a lot of other things. The Hulk is like the most notorious, but these coasters these restraints are really super common on the 90s and 2000s Bolliger and Mabillard coasters. And they're falling out of favor for a reason. So even one of the more recent B&Ms is Phoenix Rising. It has a very similar restraint to Stardust Racers in that it's a not quite an over-the-shoulder restraint, but it's a lap bar that pulls down over your head. Again, this is not a super forceful coaster. I describe it as pleasant. It's just an enjoyable ride, but it's not going to thrash you around or anything. But still, this is the kind of restraint that's becoming more and more popular because people were banging their heads on the over-the-shoulder restraints. Which brings me to a subset of this topic, and that's going to be the comfort collars. Bolliger and Mabillard has something similar on Pipeline, but that's a really unique case due to the ride system or the train itself. These are really common on the premier rides. Tigress at Busch Gardens is going to be your prime example. And I have a picture to show you. The gentleman on the other side of the gentleman in the green jacket is one of the ride operators, and he is holding the comfort collar in his hands, and it is being held together by its internal threads. The plastic on the outside is completely broken. What happened is somebody from the facilities team came with a giant roll of black duct tape and literally taped the comfort collar back together. Now, as people left the line, as the delay went on, I ended up switching seats. I ended up sitting in that seat for the ride. I was in the first ride after the test run. And yes, it's a rough ride. It's not my favorite. But I was fine. It's safe. I got in that seat on the first train after the test run. I was fine. I don't consider that to be a smooth roller coaster. I do feel like I get jostled side to side a lot on it. It's not one I typically wait for, but this was Christmas Day, early, and the weights were super low. So I decided to take a few minutes and ride it. And I did not fall out. The duct tape held up. But if the ride is the comfort collar is being held together with duct tape, you can probably safely assume that it is not as critical to the ride restraint as the lap bar that it hooks onto. So I don't think, and that aside, I don't think the comfort collars will work with the current restraint system. So I think that is probably not the most valid option either. They would still need to replace the restraints. The last thing I want to talk about is trim brakes. Stardust Racers was originally designed with no brake zones whatsoever. It was supposed to be two trains that are supposed to be racing each other, and part of the point was not to have the brake zones that slow you down. Now, in February of this year, trim brakes were added to the top hat. This is due to the transition between positive and negative Gs, and this was determined to possibly cause an issue, and therefore they added the brakes. Could they add more to different elements? Possibly. But this ride, while being an LSM launch system, still relies heavily on the force of gravity to get it through the track, to get it through the layout, to get it over the next hill. So any trim brakes would probably not be substantial. And having said that, Stardust Racers caps out at a pretty tame 62 miles an hour. It has relatively high Gs. It's 4.6, but that's not unheard of. There's hundreds of coasters with that Gs. I do notice that it tops out at about 1.95 lateral Gs. This is something that the human body doesn't really experience day to day, so this can be a little concerning. But it's been tried and tested, and there are other rides that meet or exceed that level of G-force. So was it the ride itself? And will modifying the ride, either by restraint or adding trim brakes, make any difference? I think it's all just a matter of public opinion. Now, if you like this video and you like my thoughts videos and would like to see me do more, please like and subscribe. I will hopefully be in the park soon to talk about the Lost Continent retheme. Jurassic Park, and possibly some HHN when it's not HHN. Until next time, this is Jessica, your theme park casual, signing off.